All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome into Soul of the Skull here on January 10th, 2024, our first real off-season episode that we have following the Vikings 7-10 season. It's quite the disappointment. We all kind of laid it out. Some of us were on the post-game show on Sunday. We just kind of talked about the game. Where are they now? So the Vikings now have the 11th pick in the draft this upcoming year. Like said, they finished 7-10. They finish third in the NFC North, only ahead of the Chicago Bears. Could have finished behind the Bears had the Bears won, but then they didn't. So for today's episode, we're just going to kind of look at the roster. What do they have to do? Are they going in the right direction? Stuff like that. And then we'll look at the wild card games this upcoming weekend and make some predictions. So with that said, how should we attack this best? So actually, here's how we're going to do it. With one word, we're going to go around and say yes or no. Do we think they're heading in the right direction? Anyone can start. Just yes or no,
Yes.
and then we'll explain it.
If
Yes.
it's signing Kirk Cousins for at least another year or two, yes.
Honestly, it's hard to say at this point what they're doing. I'm gonna say no.
I am also going to go a bit on a no front, but they can move me to a yes. But a couple things would have to happen here. So that said, I think maybe we can just approach this like a discussion. Either me and Sam can start, or Matt and Big Lou can start, and we can state our cases and just kind of work through it. I think that'd be just kind of interesting. I guess maybe we can do that. So why do you guys think they are going in the correct direction? And that by that I mean like this year, but also 3 years down the road. So just the long-term vision of the team. Why do you guys think they are going in the correct direction?
Well, to start, the defense has definitely been going in the right direction this year, and I can only see it improving for next year. And the offense, we were really missing Kirk Cousins. We started out pretty good. Kirk Cousins was having a phenomenal season, and now that hopefully he's going to be back next year, plus, we were riddled with injuries with Jefferson, now Hawkinson. With them hopefully all being healthy next year, I feel like, especially in the start of the season, we'll be at full strength again, and we'll be hopefully a Super Bowl contender next year. They're the Vikings, so you can never expect that from them, but with our whole team healthy, I see that as a powerful team and a very competitive team if we're completely healthy.
If we go this past season, I would say if Kirk didn't get hurt, this team gets into the playoffs. This team isn't a Super Bowl winner. They're not running the NFC, but they're in the playoffs. They're probably going to make it to the divisional round. And that's all because of Kirk Cousins' injury was the reason that didn't happen. Now, when I look ahead, though, into this offseason, there are some free agents to keep in mind. Kirk Cousins, what do they want to do on that front? But I also look around and I see a guy like KJ Osborne, your wide receiver 3, is going to be an upcoming free agent. Do you want to retain him? Or do you go in a different direction? Do you try to sign a free agent? Do you bring in a veteran potentially like Tyler Boyd? What direction does Kwesi want to go? And another thing, that Kwesi is aggressive. He tried to trade up in last year's draft to get Anthony Richardson, and it didn't work out. How aggressive is he going to be this time around in the draft with an 11th overall pick? Does he see a quarterback up there like Caleb Williams, Drake May, that he is aggressive enough to go throw a lot of assets at and try to build around this team? We just have to wait and see. I think we're good where we're at. I think we just need to draft a quarterback, but have him sit behind Kirk to obviously develop. I look at a guy like Michael Penix as a great pick, but then again, his injuries are a big question mark. I look else around. I see we need an edge rusher. We need some O-line depth, and obviously cornerback. We always need help in that front. We have the potential to be good. It just really comes down to, can we make the right decisions? Are we going to hit? Are we going to draft Lewis Seen instead of Kyle Hamilton? Are we going to mess up a pick like that? And that's stuff that comes down the line, but just being sure of yourself and making the right pick. And I feel like Kwesi has done that at receiver. He just needs to do it everywhere else. And I trust that Kevin O'Connell's going to have something figured out along with the rest of that coaching staff. So, yeah, this year was a little bit of a setback, but I feel like this is going to help be a launching pad into 2024.
So I'll say that had Kirk and Justin and all of them stayed healthy, they probably would have made the playoffs. And maybe they would have won a game, and that would be cool. They would have been a good team, and they still can be a good team. But I don't just want to see a good team, because my ultimate goal is to win a Super Bowl and see a great team. That's where I want to see them at. And right now, you can definitely disagree with me on this, but eventually, sooner or later, they don't have to completely rebuild everything and start over with everything, but they are going to have to take a step back. And that's something they haven't been willing to do. There's too many holes on the roster right now to be able to go out there next year and say, we can go win a Super Bowl right now. And as we look at the coming years here, obviously, are they going to pay Kirk Cousins and whatnot? But they have Christian Darrisaw, who's going to get big money potentially this upcoming offseason. He's eligible for, I just combined two words. Eligible for an extension. And then Justin, obviously, he's going to get big money too. So that's two high premium players. Are you willing to pay three of them in Kirk Cousins? Or is it better to go get a rookie quarterback, which in my opinion it is. Maybe they can sit for a year, whatever. But
And Joel, it might not just be those three big name players, because there's also on the defensive side of the ball, Danielle Hunter. So, there's four players that are going to need a big payday here coming up soon. It really, really depends on how the Vikings are going to manage these free agents. Now, we have a lot of big names that are going to be free agents this year. Of course, Kirk Cousins, Dalton Reisner, one of our new guards that we just got this year, Danielle Hunter, Marcus Davenport, Jordan Hicks, all going to be free agents this year. And so who are we willing to pay, and who do we need to pay to be able to stay as a relevant team in the NFL? Because this year, obviously, the Vikings were one of the most irrelevant teams in the entire NFL. So I think that someone is going to need to get paid, and some people are just going to have to lose their job, because we won't have the money to afford all these big name players and pay good money to other smaller name players.
so with this team, they're just historically mediocre. I think we can all agree on that. They're the best team to have never won a Super Bowl. They've come close a few times. I mean, they made the Super Bowl 4 times, but in recent memory, in their whole history, they've never been a bad team. They've never had stretches where they've gone 3-13 every year for a few years in a row, kind of like some teams we've seen, that like the Browns, Lions, Texans, for example. But they've also, at least in recent memory, since I'm going to say like 98. So since that year, they've really never gotten that close to a Super Bowl. I know they did in 2017, but that was just a weird year. Their team was good, but I don't know if they would have won a Super Bowl. And right now, just with the way their team is set up, all I can see is mediocre, and that's all I can see moving forward, unless they change things, which they definitely can do. So they can make the right decisions. They just haven't sold me yet on it. And so I think we can get into that topic now. So Kirk Cousins, he was asked on Monday about whether he'd be willing to take a hometown discount for his home team, or would he not be willing to do that. He said pretty much, my family's been blessed. We've been blessed with the money we've made. I'm super financially stable. So he pretty much said yes. So with that, I'll bring it to you guys and myself too. What do you think about those comments, and anything, I guess, from that?
So I think Kirk is going to be back next year based on that comment. He will be back next year is what I think. And I do think he will have a pay reduction from his previous contract. It won't be as much as it was, but I do think the Vikings will still pay him a fair amount.
Yeah, I'm going to say that I'm willing to bring him back. I sound like sometimes like I'm a Kirk Cousins hater, and maybe I am, but I'm willing to bring him back, but it has to be at the right price. Because if a hometown discount for him is going from 30 million to 25 million, I can't do that. That's not enough for me. I'm going to need him lower than that because your team is built around everyone on your team. And I know a lot of quarterbacks make a lot of money, but right now they have a receiver that's about to get quarterback money, and that's Justin Jefferson. And you can't be playing, I already touched on this earlier, but you can't be paying too many people big money or else it's going to screw the rest of your team because you're going to have no more money to go around. So it's just going to be a bunch of practice squad equivalent guys out there pretty much. So I'm willing to bring him back, but even if the discount is just by a little bit, that's not enough for me. It needs to be a decent enough discount. But I would like him to be the quarterback. He's better than a lot of other options out there by far. And I'd like him to help develop someone if he was willing to do that. But so yeah, that's pretty much my answer is it would have to be a significant enough discount. But I'd take him back if it's the right price.
Okay.
I think he definitely proved his value to the team this year. You know, seeing us go through 3 backup quarterbacks, switching a quarterback every single week, and none of them playing up to par. However, he made $35 million this last year. He had a $20 million cap hit. And so we can't afford to give out that kind of money again next year. If he was willing to take a $20 million year versus $35 million, even that's pretty significant. I think that we could definitely, do something with that. Even 25 is pretty significant. So we need Kirk. I think that was pretty apparent this year. And it was a big eye opener for a lot of Vikings fans to think, oh, well, I guess Kirk isn't as bad as we thought. Right. So Kirk proved that he's vital to our team. And so I really think that this is going to be a year where the Vikings are going to re-sign him maybe for a year or two and draft a quarterback in the first round to kind of be groomed underneath him. And I think Kirk will probably retire a Viking.
Yeah, I actually like the idea of us signing Kirk for at least a 1-year deal and then drafting a quarterback, having that quarterback sit behind Kirk for the year and then taking over after the year. That sounds like a pretty good idea to me. I don't know if you guys think that or what, but I would definitely like the Vikings to do that.
I think that's the right idea, but something that Joel's kind of brought up and we've kind of seen with rookie quarterbacks coming into the Vikings system, they haven't panned out. So is that on the quarterback? Is that on the coaching, not getting these quarterbacks up to par? That year on the bench would be really beneficial for a guy like Penix, Bo Nix, if he ended up falling to the Vikings, but then it's on the coaches to get them up to speed. I mean, Patrick Mahomes sat a year behind Alex Smith, and obviously Mahomes was probably better than Alex Smith as a rookie, but just having that year behind him, seeing how a quarterback goes and prepares is very important, and it showed a lot of dividends because Mahomes went on to win MVP that next season. So the coaches, I think, would be on the bigger. I'm more worried about the coaches because it hasn't worked out of late, and if we were to draft a quarterback, I want him to be here long term and not end up leaving after a year or two, like what Jaren Hall's probably going to do.
I've hated on the coaches sometimes here, but this is one thing I will give them. I trust them significantly more to develop a quarterback than the last regime we just had with Mike Zimmer and that staff. Because the only real recent quarterback development they've tried was Kellen Mond. And I wasn't in the building. I have no idea how it actually went. But from an outsider perspective, it seemed like more than likely Zimmer and the coaching staff just kind of neglected him because they didn't want to work with him. Well, Spielman and Zimmer weren't seeing eye to eye. Spielman drafted him, and Zimmer said, even though he didn't like Kirk Cousins, he said, Kirk is going to be my guy. I'm going to work with him. Anyone else, I don't really care that much about. That's just what it seems like is kind of how it went. But we haven't seen it at all. And Jaren Hall doesn't really, for me, it doesn't count. He was a rookie this year. He was a 5th-round pick. So he only played, twice, 2 times, 3 times, whatever it was. So not enough. And you don't expect a 5th-round pick to become your franchise quarterback. It's pretty rare that happens. Even like Kirk Cousins, he was, I think, a 4th-round pick, if I remember right. That's a rarity that happens. So if they draft a quarterback, I definitely trust this regime a lot more than their previous one and even the ones before that too. Vikings have had very little quarterbacks drafted early. They haven't done that a whole lot ever. So I want to see them do it. And I think that would be the best direction for this franchise is have them sit for a year and then have them take the reins after that so they don't get thrown into the fire right away. So anyone else got any closing thoughts on that? So Kwesi, I'll wrap it up with this. Kwesi, I was listening to their end of season press conference today, and Kwesi pretty much said he wanted to bring Kirk Cousins back, but it was interesting the way he said it. He said, I really like Kirk as a player and I want to bring him back, but he didn't. To me, that leaves open the idea of Kirk as a negotiator, because he said then in the press conference, he said, I want him back, but at the right price. It's a negotiation. That's why I think he's not completely sold on Kirk, but I mean, we'll just have to see. But yeah, it was just interesting hearing some of those comments, and I don't know how much to believe anymore of what Kevin and Kwesi say, because their job is to act happy and say we're doing a good job and we're trying to win games. But I wish I could talk to them with no cameras, nobody else listening, and I could actually ask them, what do you genuinely think about this team? And what do you genuinely think about the direction in the next couple of years? Because I feel like they wouldn't say the same thing as they do to the public. But whatever, that's just a different idea. So with that said, should we look into the roster and look at some of the free agents and look at some of the positions and positional gaps and whatnot? So we can do that here. So I will share this screen. That is the Vikings roster as of right now heading into next season. They currently have 47 players under contract right now. They, as of now, have $37 million of cap space, but really it'll be more around like $25 million. Because if you don't know, salary cap takes your top 51 players and they only have 47 under contract. So it will go down some. So they have two quarterbacks on the roster, Nick Mullins and Jaron Hall. We've talked about that, and I'm sure we'll talk plenty about that. Mullins is Mullins, and Jaron Hall is a rookie, so they don't have a solidified starting quarterback. At the running back group, we'll just have to see. Madison's under contract, I believe, one more year. I think it was a 2-year deal, if I remember correctly. And, yeah, not that much interesting for them to do here. I thought it was interesting they brought Myles Gaskin back. He was part of that wave of reserve future contracts because he didn't do anything this year. He just sat on the practice squad all year. So that was kind of interesting.
To me, it seems like we have one or two too many running backs there.
Yeah, guys like Dwayne McBride will probably end up being cut. And I wonder if you have value for Madison, if the NFL market has value for him. Do the Vikings think about trading him and try and just say Ty Chandler's our clear cut running back one?
See, I don't think there's any value for Madison in the league. Just because think what team really would need a running back like Madison?
Someone wanted Madison and they were willing to give up at least a 6th or 7th round pick as for him to be like a depth guy, a backup. That's some value, at least. It's better than nothing.
I was going to say, I bet they could give up a late round pick for him, but he's not going to be a starting running back anymore.
He's not commanding a 3rd day 2 pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a whole group there we see.
Also, going back to the running back, Big Lou, I'm going to disagree with you saying that we have too many running backs. I don't think we have too many running backs. I think we don't have enough quality running backs. It's not about how many, it's just about how good they are. Obviously, Ty Chandler is our clear-cut starter for next year. Alex Madison is probably going to end up getting cut or being a 3rd string next year. And then we really haven't seen much from the other three. Kenny Wongwu, Myles Gaskin, and Dwayne McBride. They didn't really play all year. I think Wongwu got maybe 2 or 3 carries the whole season, but didn't really do anything with them. We just don't really have any quality running backs behind Ty Chandler. We don't have a Saquon Barkley. We don't have a Derrick Henry. We don't have, a Kyron Williams or anything like that. So we don't have one of those top tier running backs So really, I think that we got to look for one of those guys either in free agency or in the draft.
Okay, I have a potentially controversial idea, but maybe not here. I just looked up Kene Nwangu's contract. This is going to be his last year under his rookie contract is about to be this upcoming season. His cap hit is about 1.2 million. His dead cap is about 200,000. So if they cut Kene, they would save about $1 million, which really isn't that much, but I just realized I was muted the whole time.
No, we can hear you.
We could hear you. I don't know if it was like the mic picked it up or not.
Oh, so it must have been my computer then, because the mic was blinking.
It's your computer picking you up, I bet.
Oh, okay. I guess I'm just a dum-dum. That happens. Hey, everybody's accidentally muted themselves at least once and then started talking before. So, yeah. Now I don't look like a complete dummy and have to completely go over that again. But yeah, they'd save $1 million if they cut him, and he's the kick returner. But this year, to me, he wasn't super flashy. He was in 2000. What was his rookie year? 2021. Then he was last season again in 2022. But this year, he didn't provide any value for me. He wasn't explosive in the kick game. That much I saw. They just chose to not return kicks, and we never saw him in the offense. I would be okay throwing maybe even honestly Ty Chandler back there just to kneel it on a kick return. So I don't know about you guys, but he just doesn't provide any value to me anymore. And I would honestly consider just cutting him because he doesn't have a fit here anymore.
With the changes to the kickoff game, you call a fair catch anywhere within the 25. The ball's going out to the 25. I mean, it kind of ruins kickoffs. So I think a lot of teams are just okay with the ball just going out to the 25.
I would be if I was the coach, I would do that, but
It's definitely a rule that needs to be revoked because that's a terrible rule. It
It was
takes the entire element out of the game.
Sorry, I think it's only a 1-year rule. It was like we're going to try this. I think it was the same as when they were doing the pass interference being reviewed. That was like a 1-year thing. I could be wrong on that department, but I thought they just wanted to try it in terms of player safety.
So how often was that rule even used? Because I didn't see it used many times.
Yeah, I see it a lot in college. It was weird seeing it in the NFL, but usually you just see a bunch of guys just extend their arms and just let it go out the end zone. So it didn't really make too much of a difference, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah, I only saw it a couple times. I'm trying to find where the rule was. It looks like you are right, Matt. I think it only is a 1-year thing because I keep seeing only 2023 like being talked about in here.
And then it obviously will go through the league again. Hey, do we want to bring this back? And then they vote on it.
I'm sure they will just because safety purposes and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, if it was like super widely used, I could see them like not bringing it back, but it was fairly uncommon to see it. Like, I don't think I ever personally saw it on a game. So, the fact that it's just there, that if you're happen to guys to be on you like that, I mean, same way they fair catch and punt, just for a little bit of safety, I can see why they'd bring it back.
This is going to be really random, but I would rather someone fair catch it and bring it to the 25 than them sit there and wave their arms and let it bounce through the end zone. I don't know why. Maybe that's just me, but they should just get rid of kickoffs. They're at a point where it doesn't happen anymore. Just move the ball to the 25.
That's the problem with taking that element out of the game, though, because now you don't let depth guys prove themselves on special teams anymore. Like, you see so many guys like Najee Thompson, right? Very, very, very effective special teams player. And if you take the special teams like kickoff and kick return out of the game, then that gives a lot of people no chance to fight for a starting spot anywhere. So it's really a vital part of the game that needs to stay in the game, of course, but it's just, I don't know. It's frustrating to me.
I think
I agree with you there, Sam. That is like a trial spot where that's where you can earn your spot on the roster as a player. Like, you ball out on special teams there, you secured your spot, and that's just to help guys get into there. And I do like the special teams aspect where it's you have to prove your worth to them.
I would
I'm
say
not-
just the whole Gunners not being able to get a running start. They have to stay still until the kicker kicks the ball, then they can take off. I think that was a good rule in terms of player safety. But yeah, I think you can't really take special teams out of it because then you got punt returns like Deontay Hardy, who completely changed the Bills-Dolphins game last week. It's a game-changing play. So, and it does take opportunities away from guys like Najee Thompson.
Okay.
They say, I think it's 98% of the time you score on special teams, you win the game.
Yeah. How would you guys like to see the NFL doing what the XFL does, where they have everyone line up like 10 yards in front of or like they line up at a 25 and the kick returners back in the end zone?
I would not be opposed to it.
I feel like that'd be a safer way, and it'd still keep the like special teams aspect in there. I mean, it's not perfect, but it also player safety would be higher, I believe.
Yeah, I'd like that, but they have to take obviously, I'm sure they would for this. You'd have to take the fair catch thing out. Because then anytime they fair catch it or let it bounce through the end zone, it's just, to me, it just feels like a wasted play. It's like, what are we doing just watching that? But I think eventually the NFL is going to get rid of kickoffs, though. I'm not saying I want it to happen, but it's only a matter of time. They're going to do it.
I feel like they're not going to get rid of it entirely. They're just going to make some major changes to it because, like Sam said, it is a vital. When you have that special team score, it can really change the game. And that's something that, it doesn't happen very often. But when it does, as a fan, it's like, that's pretty cool. That's exciting, especially when your team does it. That could easily change the game.
Yeah. So that's that. It's always going to be a debate no matter what happens, I guess. So we look down at this receiver core. They got Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, 1 and 2. Jalen Nailor's probably going to be the number 3 since KJ is not under contract. I'm excited to see Jalen Nailor. We didn't see much of him this year. He was hurt a lot of the year, and he was underwhelming in like the 3 games he was active for. So maybe year 3 will serve him better. Everyone else down there is just kind of there. Anytime I see N'Keal Harry, I think about Matt just because I think about Jalen Reagor. They just feel like kind of.
I would say up into Tristan Jackson and up, everyone's safe. Everyone else I could see being cut. I can see the Vikings drafting a receiver in a day 2, day 3, or maybe they bring in a guy like Tyler Boyd just to add some age and that veteran experience to a young wide receiver group.
Tristan Jackson's played well in the preseason, but we've never seen meaningful snaps from him. So I guess I don't know what to actually think about him. But he looks kind of promising. I don't know if promising is even the word, actually. He looks.
He's just there.
Yeah, I think he caught a couple of passes this year because when Jefferson and KJ were out, it was Addison, Nailor, and Jackson. I think were the 3 main receivers.
Tristan caught that 2-point conversion in Atlanta.
Nice. So we look at receiver. They have a fair amount of depth. Obviously, they'll add more. We look at tight end where they have 0 depth. They have Hawk and Oliver, and that's it. No Johnny Munt, the GOAT. Here's what we're going to do. I'm also going to search up Josh Oliver's contract. They brought him in to solidify the run game. In their run game, they didn't run the ball. So I wonder how much money he's making because he could be a cut candidate for me or a trade candidate or something. So let's see. Next year.
Yes, but how the Vikings use him, he's also kind of an extra pass blocker too.
Yeah, that's fair.
The Vikings do far more passing than running, so I could see us keeping him for that extra lineman especially for pass blocking.
They would save, if it was before June 1st, they'd save about $5 million if they got rid of him. If it was after that, it would be about $8 million, which it would probably need to be a bit more for me to be able to cut a guy like him. But I don't know. It's just hard to think about because, yeah, your run game wasn't wonderful in 2022, that would have been. Dalvin Cook was on the decline. So then they moved on from him, and then they brought in Josh Oliver, who was the best run blocking tight end in the NFL, to pair with one of the best pass catching tight ends. And ultimately, he became kind of a pass catcher. Same with Johnny Munt, though. Johnny Munt's not a pass catching tight end, and they kind of converted him to be one. But
yeah, but a lot of teams wouldn't really expect those blockers to go up for pass very much.
If the Vikings don't run the ball, then I'd consider getting rid of him.
Yeah.
Because sure, he can catch the ball, but I mean, that's not really what his focus is. So whatever. Then we look at the offensive line. They have Christian Darrisaw, Brian O'Neill, obviously two very, very solid tackles, as well as a depth fella down there too. We look at guard, and guard is Bear. Ed Ingram, who's been very hit or miss over his first 2 seasons. Dalton Reisner, who is a free agent. They'll probably bring him back, but you never know. We'll just have to see. And yeah, so a lot depth problems, starting problems, all problems at the guard spot right now. And so we'll just see where that goes. At center, Garrett Bradbury is the starter right now. I wonder what his contract for this year is. I'm not saying we should cut him at all, but he also didn't have a super great year this year. I don't have any stats to back that up, but just from my eyeballs, he didn't do super wonderful. This year, Garrett Bradbury is due about just under $6 million against the cap. If they cut him, they would save all that money. He has no dead cap this year. So we'll see. Is he worth $6 million? That's up to you guys to decide.
So if they trade people away, that takes the same hit as just cutting them, right?
I'll look here.
Or
I don't think so, because I believe the team that we trade the player to finishes out their contract that they're currently on.
Here's what I'll do for you. I'll go to, this is Garrett Bradbury's contract right here. So if I click this 2024, I can see his cap hit right there, his dead cap this year, that's his next year stuff, and then that means he has void years on it. So you can look at these numbers here. If they were to get rid of him this offseason, this is how much pre-June 1st they would save. And it doesn't even have a trade option. Oh, yeah, it does. I'm dumb. So they'd save $5 million if they traded him pre-June 1st, post-June 1st. It's actually the same number.
okay.
So, well, no matter what, it's all the same number. But normally, yeah, Big Lou, I'm pretty sure the cap hit would then go to the new team, and the dead cap would go to the first team he was on. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So I'll go back here then. So Garrett Bradbury is kind of a conversation for another time with what they do with him. Defensive tackle, Harrison Phillips has been decent, but he hasn't been stellar, I guess. I don't know how much money he's making, though, because that does matter.
I feel like Harrison Phillips had his moments of shine, but then he's also had his moments of doing crappy too. So
here's the thing, though, is with a defensive tackle, they're not shiny players. They're not flashy players, right? Their job is just plug a gap, plug a gap, plug a gap. That's it. And Harrison Phillips, he does that pretty well. He gets his head on into the right gap a lot of the time. And I think he actually got a couple of sacks this year pass rushing too. Harrison Phillips, he's a very underrated Viking in my opinion.
Defensive tackles won't have 100 tackles like Derek Brown did. That's just otherworldly. They're there to just free up space for everybody else.
Exactly.
So this upcoming season is his final season under contract with the Vikings. He's due $8.8 million. His dead cap is about 2.3. So if they got rid of him, they would save $6.5 million, whether it was a cut, whether it was a trade, doesn't matter. So is he worth that much money? I'm going to say yeah, but you also look here at their depth, it's non-existent. They have no meat other than him. So
right, and honest to God, Harrison Phillips, he had a really good season this last year. He had his best season of his career by a lot. He had 3 sacks this season. He had 92 total tackles, and he actually had 2 pass breakups. So
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that's kind of that. They need, no matter what, they need help on the defensive line. Their only actual hand in the dirt defensive end under contract is Dean Lowry, and he was hurt. Or not. Yeah, Dean Lowry got hurt. Right? Or am I dumb?
he did something to his shoulder.
Sometimes I mess up Dean Lowry and Marcus Davenport. Sometimes I forget which is which.
Well, they both got hurt, so.
Yeah, I know that. No, Davenport's the one I was thinking of. He got hurt, and then it was like, is he going to come back or not? And then he never did, and that was underwhelming. So Dean Lowry could get cut because I wonder how much money he's making. He's probably making more money than he's worth, but they have no one else, so they need help. At the pass rusher position, they've got Patrick Jones, who's been hit or miss, I'll say at least. Andre Carter, who was a highly touted rookie, but didn't do anything at all this year. And then obviously DJ Wanham's a free agent. He was hurt this year, and he had a good season, but he's been up and down over his 4. And then Daniil Hunter, who's the big talking point. Will they bring him back? He led the league with 16.5 sacks. I think he led the league in tackles for loss too. Yeah, game-changing player. He, I believe, is 29 years old right now, and he's going to be 30. So they'll take that into consideration. We'll just have to see how that goes.
I'm looking at Daniil Hunter's stats right now. So it looks like this year he had 83 total tackles, 16.5 sacks, which was a career record for him, 4 forced fumbles. Do they not have tackles for loss on here? I guess ESPN does not record tackles for loss. All right. Just STF. I don't know. He had 9 stuffs. I don't really know what that means, but he had 2 pass breakups. I mean, honest to God, Daniil Hunter is a top 3 pass rusher in the NFL right now. We need to pay him. Just like Jefferson, we need to pay him, and he needs to be making a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, how old is Daniil Hunter, though?
Or 30.
29.
Okay, so, I mean, he's getting up there, but he's still doing very good.
Yeah.
So
this past offseason, so like a year ago at this point, I think I advocated kind of for a Daniil Hunter, say goodbye to him. I was like, he's 28 or 29, whatever he was at the time. He's getting older. He's had injury problems. I was okay with letting him go. But after seeing this year, he completely proved me wrong. I absolutely want to bring him back. He did a wonderful job in everything he was asked to do. I would be very willing to split a big check for him because he earned it this season. Mm-hmm. He proved all my doubts wrong. So that's that. We look at the linebacking core. We got Ivan Pace, Brian Asamoah, and then Jordan Hicks, who's set to become a free agent. So we'll just have to see if they opt to bring him back. He had kind of a resurgence of a season. And then, yeah, so we'll just see if they go with the 2 young fellas or if they try to bring in more experience. But that's somewhere they could just not touch and it would be fine, probably. We look at corner. They have a lot of young pieces. Byron Murphy Jr. was hurt for the entire last portion of the season. Caleb Evans, who was hit or miss. He was also benched twice, I think. So that was that. Andrew Booth Jr., who is Matt Larson's boy here since he went to Clemson. So that's Matt's guy. And, yeah, I mean,
he's getting better. He's not, I think, what we
is.
thought he would be as a second-round pick. Thought his expectations should be a lot higher, but I can admit he's improving, and that's okay. He's got to take a bigger step, though, this upcoming season.
We have breaking news if you guys haven't seen this yet.
What is it?
Just yell it.
Nick Saban, who won 6 national championships at Alabama, is retiring. Nick Saban is retiring.
He heard about
retiring.
He heard about the 4th down play call in the national semifinal, and he's done. That is wow.
And you know what? He's not the greatest college football coach of all time. He's not the winningest college football coach of all time. John Gallardi, St. John's University, Collegeville, Minnesota.
Home of the legend Ben Barch.
Home of Ben Barch, the legend. Thank you.
Okay, I saw Ben Barch come in a game. Is he still with Jacksonville, or is it not them?
He's
San
with
Francisco.
the Niners now.
Okay, I saw him come into a game like I don't know, a month ago maybe, and I was like, "Yo, that's Ben Barch right there."
Ben Barch, the GOAT. Actually, I don't know if you guys were watching the Cowboys game the other day, but Matt Waletzko got to play the entire last drive of the game, so it was cool
good.
to see him get some regular season reps.
He's been hurt like his whole career, pretty much. Every time
Yeah,
I've looked at
so
what he's doing,
actually this year, so he was hurt until maybe week 4, but they kept him on IR until I think week like 11 or 12 or something like that when he was medically cleared to play week 4.
what was his injury?
Yeah, there's something in his shoulder.
Yeah. I feel like, I mean, he's been around, what, 2 years now? That was his second year, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, every time I've ever looked at, like, his status or, oh, does he ever get in? Probably not, because he was a 5th-round pick after all, but you never know. Every time I look, he's always on the IR.
Yeah, well.
So, happy to hear that.
You know, but that's kind of an eye-opening experience to hear that, because now when you hear, oh, this player is out, you know, they might not actually be hurt. They might be, you know, cleared to play. So that's kind of a cool thing to learn about.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. So, good for Matt Waletzko. Me and Sam and Big Lou graduated from the same high school he did. Obviously, he's significantly older than us, but we went to the same school that he did. So, good for him.
Matt the GOAT.
So, yeah, we look at this corner room, which we were talking about with Andrew Booth, and then it kind of spiraled from there. Mekhi Blackman, who showed promise as a rookie. Najee Thompson, who's primarily only special teams. Jawan Williams, who I think they signed him to a futures contract, and then Jalen Williams, too. Jawan Williams is a former 2nd-round pick, so he's got potential, but whatever. And then Jalen Williams was a UDFA last season. Harrison Smith is going to be the big name to watch this upcoming offseason. Harrison Smith is due. His cap hit is $19 million. His dead cap is about 7.8. If they cut him or trade him before June 1st, they would save about $11.3 million. If he was a post-June 1st designation, or they waited till after that to trade him, they would save about $15.3 million. I don't know about you guys, but to me, it's kind of a no-brainer. I'd get rid of him at this point in his career. They have enough.
No, that's my boy, but I gotta agree with Joel here. He's eaten up a lot of money.
What would be like the trade market value for someone like him?
I would say later round pick because of the amount of money he's due. That's why. He's still a decent player. He's just not obviously going to be prime Harrison Smith anymore, because that was a few years ago. We got to witness that. But they have depth at safety, a lot of it, and they can do without him. He's also considering retiring too, so if he retired, I don't know what the contract situation would be, because I know it's not quite the same as a cut.
Does it just void everything, do you think?
I really don't know. Maybe it is the same as a cut, because then he wouldn't. Well, I don't know. That's weird. I've never thought about that.
Yeah.
So, because I remember it was a big topic last year when the Vikings considered, when Adam Thielen, when they were going to move on, one of the questions was, could Adam Thielen just retire? But I know it would have actually hurt the Vikings if he retired, because then they would have been due a lot more money. And ultimately, he didn't want to quit playing either. So they were able to break it up.
Well, he had a pretty decent year in Carolina, considering his situation, but
I think they waited 1 year too long with Harrison Smith. I think with some of the players they got rid of last year, like they got rid of Eric Kendricks last year. Maybe they could have done it a year sooner, but whatever. That was a good time. I didn't watch any Eric Kendricks, so I don't know. Was he any good this year? Does anyone really know?
He was pretty mediocre.
Yeah.
Okay. But like we just talked about Adam Thielen, maybe they could have done it a year sooner. But I mean, good for him. He had a good year this year. And the main one is Dalvin Cook. They did a perfect job with that by not keeping him around.
yeah.
Because the Jets, that was the whole ordeal.
And now he's going to go get a ring.
Yeah. So that's that. But so hopefully they do the same thing with Harrison. Well, how do I even say that? Yeah. Harrison's. I did see this too. I think on Twitter one day is that Harrison Smith, if he feels he isn't like an elite player anymore, like he once was, he would be more likely to retire than stick around just to be playing the game. And I don't know, just seeing him and knowing Harrison Smith, that doesn't really surprise me. If he wants to be good, he wants to be good. Or I should say, if he wants to be playing, he wants to be good. And if he's not really a good player, I could definitely see him just retiring and saying, it's been a good run, boys. But
Yeah.
whatever.
All right. Well, we should probably continue on moving forward here.
So that's the rest of their safety depth. Cam Bynum is getting paid pretty cheaply, but we'll see how much of a payday he gets. That could be interesting. Josh Metellus, the safety, but no, actually, Lewis Seen, who is a bust. I feel like he won't be on the opening day roster next year, but we'll never know. Maybe I'll make a prediction about it sometime. And they don't have a kicker, so to me that means please don't bring back Greg Joseph, but we'll see. So we don't really.
Are we going to draft a kicker?
If it's in like the 6th or 7th round, I would consider it.
Jake Moody season, let's go.
If it's a late round pick, but if it's like in the 3rd or 4th, absolutely not. If it's the 6th or 7th, I would be okay with drafting like the top kicker in the class. Feels like the 6th round.
In seeing this free agents here with Cam Akers being free agents, I am more likely to say that let's get rid of Madison and have Akers and Chandler be our main running backs.
How does Akers come back from a torn Achilles, though? I think it's the big question mark that the Vikings I don't think they want to. I don't know. They don't want to risk it. They're better off trying to find someone who's healthy. Maybe try to lure in Derrick Henry, see if they can do that. That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
It'd be kind of funny.
We'd have to pay him, and we're already trying to pay Jefferson. We're gonna have to pay Cousins a chunk. And
okay, here's the thing: this upcoming season, Derrick Henry is only due $4.7 million against the cap of the Titans. That I would consider bringing into Minnesota.
He was waving goodbye to Tennessee. It'd be really awkward if he just returned in a Tennessee Titan uniform next year. He's like, "Hey guys."
Yeah, so that would be good. And he's still a decent player. I mean, he's getting older. How old is he now? He's 30. But
still a better back than most.
He was still fairly productive this season, at least in the bits I was watching. So he was on one of my fantasy teams, which was pretty hit or miss when he was good and not good, but whatever. But you can look around here. KJ Osborne, I would bet they won't bring him back. He can probably make more money hitting the market than anything we would offer him.
Yeah.
Johnny Munt, the GOAT. Dalton Reisner, they'll probably bring him back, but again, you never know. We'll just have to see. Schlotman, they'll probably bring back, or they'll bring someone because obviously they have to have a backup center. Tonga time. I just love the name. Daniil Davenport, DJ Wanham. I don't know. I'm just kind of reading off names at this point. So, yeah. Greg Joseph, you guys want him back or not? Because I don't. The Greg Joseph experience, I'm ready to move on from. Anyone else? Do you agree with that?
Yes.
I feel like he did decent this year, but there's definitely better options out there. So if I say if we can find a better one, go with them. But Greg Joseph was decent this year, so
let's see if we can be a Cowboys and luck into a UFL kicker like Brandon Aubrey when he came out of the USFL.
So if we look at, we'll say minimum 20 field goal attempts. He was the 6th worst kicker in the NFL in field goal percentage, minimum 20 attempts.
Okay, yeah, we can get rid of him then.
The only ones worse were Chad Ryland, who I've never heard of, but he's in a Patriots uniform in the picture.
Patriots kicker.
Chad Ryland was the starting Patriots kicker. He's terrible.
Brett Maher was worse than him. I don't know how to pronounce him. The Rams kicker, the Lucas Havrizik, whatever he is, and Joey Sly. Those were the kickers with at least 20 attempts that were worse than Greg Joseph. There are a few others, but they only had like less than 10, so they don't really count. Mason Crosby's on that list. He went 5 for 7 for 71%. And Greg Joseph went 80%, 24 for 30. So, yeah, I just can't trust him. I'm good. I think we can move into other stuff now, right? Predictions? Should we
Of
do
course,
it?
that's any Vikings kicker, though.
Let's rip through them.
Predictions. Let's go.
Predictions. Let's go. So we had a lot come off. Wait, so what time did you say we're leaving at, Matt?
Like
You
2
can-
minutes.
Okay. Here's the thing. Here's what we'll do. We'll rip through our predictions, and then we'll go through what came off the board after. So should we do that? You want to go all yours first, or should we? How should we?
Let's
do
just
Matt
do everyone,
first,
do
then-
all of them.
Everyone do all of them.
Okay, we're gonna start with you though, and then in case you have to leave, then we can keep going.
All right. Oh, I was Sam Z. I was about to unveil his. The first one was Ben Johnson, the Lions offensive coordinator. I think he'll be the next head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. They'll want an offensive mind take center stage. I know Arthur Smith was an offensive coordinator before he was the head coach, but let's be honest, he was not a good offensive coordinator. He was not a good head coach. I should say that. Baker Mayfield will have over 250 pass yards and 2 touchdowns versus the Eagles. The Eagles have obviously struggled mightily of late, and Baker Mayfield's going to cook and lead them to a wild card win. And Kirk Cousins will be the comeback player of the year. This was modified. It was actually, he was going to be named the sexiest man alive in 2024, but I thought let's be realistic, and comeback player of the year is, I mean, he's got a good shot. It'll be him and Aaron Rodgers and anyone else that had a season-ending injury.
Anyone else that tore their Achilles this year?
And then randomly it was like in week 8, like, yeah, I can play now.
You know, Matt, I was thinking of doing that exact same prediction, but ultimately I didn't do it. So I do agree that is a very good prediction.
If Aaron Rodgers stays healthy, I honestly don't see any reason why he wouldn't. The NFL just loves Aaron Rodgers because he gets so much attention.
He
And it makes them
generates a
money.
lot of
Yeah,
clicks.
because he's an attention whore.
It makes them a lot of money.
Not
So-
wrong.
So they're
Doesn't
gonna,
bring in the best publicity of late, but
No.
he brings in publicity.
Hey, there's no such thing as bad publicity.
Touche.
I
Okay.
guess.
So now we can go through Sam O because he's not even here. So we'll go through his. His first prediction is Eagles lose by at least 8. His second one, Jesse Minter, who he has listed here as the Michigan defensive coordinator, will get an NFL coaching job this offseason. So we'll just have to see on that. And he says Jared Goff will turn the ball over more times than Matt Stafford. I definitely see that happening. I feel like that'll happen. We'll talk more about that game in a little bit. That'll be an interesting game. What a Sunday night game. Lions and Rams. So, yeah.
I never thought I would hear that as a playoff game. Lions, Rams.
Yeah, it's going to be probably the best game of the week, though.
Offensive shootout. I could see it.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah, it's definitely not going to be the Chiefs Dolphins. That's going to be a terrible game.
Especially when the temperature is supposed to be -10 or -5 windshield.
Yeah, it'll be. I think it'll be a great game because the Dolphins can run the ball like no other team.
Yeah.
I can't wait to watch
And
the
we'll get to
Chiefs.
see Isaiah Pacheco be angry at grass.
I can see the Chiefs receivers trying to catch footballs. That's always a sight to see. That ball's going to come in like a rock. So,
The key is trying to catch footballs.
and it goes for Miami too. Tua's not used to the cold.
The Chiefs receivers can't catch balls whether it's cold or 100 degrees out.
I know,
So
but now that we make it harder, it's going to be a lot of fun.
how many? Somebody should have made a prediction about how many drops the Chiefs receivers will have in this game.
Oh, I made a prediction about how many turnovers are going to be in that game.
Perfect. All right, we can go back here. Now we can probably go one by one between us three. My
I
first one,
just go all of yours and then
do 'em. All right, my first one was that the Rams and Lions game Sunday will finish over 51.5 points. That's what it was yesterday when I looked at CBS. That's what the over-under was. I'll see if it changed at all. And if it did change, I'll change that too. But
That's a good prediction.
it is still 51.5. So that's what it's going to stay. I think it'll hit the over. It's going to be an offensive game.
Yep.
My second prediction. Sorry, we're going to say something. Oh, he
No,
left.
go ahead.
I said at least one playoff game will go into overtime. I mean, I have 13 tries at that.
Yeah.
Feels like we could get like a Bills Ravens overtime game. That just sounds like it happened.
It seems like one of them always does. So
we'll see there. And then my third one is kind of interesting, kind of funny, but also not at the same time. At least one Viking player or coach will be either arrested or pulled over, and we will have public knowledge of it at some point this offseason.
Oh, yeah. Yep. That is,
Feels like
that's just the trend.
At least once every year, we have a player or coach get arrested, pulled over. I mean, we saw it last offseason with Jordan Addison, and I remember Oli Udoh was arrested midseason last year. And
plus our defensive coordinator was in season, or someone on the defense.
The OC Wes Phillips, he was pulled over and got a DWI. So at least one player or coach will be arrested or pulled over, and we'll have public knowledge of it.
Yeah, the same week the Vikings defense of the keg stand celebration.
Yeah.
Good.
All right, is it my turn?
Yes.
All right. So my first prediction is both Super Bowl quarterbacks combined for passing yards will be over 550 yards. So my prediction right now for Super Bowl, just to preface, is it's going to be Niners Ravens. And I think that those two will combine for 550 passing yards. I don't think that's a ridiculous number at all. So
I agree.
My second prediction is that less than 4 receivers will have 100 yards in the wild card. That might be a bit of a check down because I think there's only 12 teams playing. So we'll see. I might get screwed over on that one, but
I don't think that's a check down though. Because it's not like
Tyreek Hill probably will. Puka Nacua.
Or Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, maybe OBJ or Zay Flowers will probably do it.
No, they won't.
See, the key here is that this is the playoffs, so it's like 12 of the best teams. It's not just 12 teams in general.
But I don't think there's going to be a lot of players going over 100 yards. I don't think Tyreek is going to go over 100 yards if it's going to be that cold. I don't think they're going to throw the ball much. I think it's going to be run, pound the rock.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Matt was calling me check down boy, but we'll see how it goes. And then for my third, Caleb Williams is not going to go number 1 overall in the 2024 NFL draft. This is maybe a controversial opinion, but I don't think Caleb Williams is a top 3 college quarterback.
What, you think the Vikings might be able to get him?
I think it could be an opportunity, but I don't think that he's a top 3 college quarterback right now. I don't think he's a top 3 quarterback coming into the draft.
Do you think Marvin Harrison Jr. or Drake May would be the number 1 in that case, or somebody else?
I think it's going to be Marvin Harrison Jr. if the Bears keep the pick. Because right now they have their quarterback. Justin Fields is their guy. They've been very clear about that, right? And so I'm not too concerned about them taking a quarterback number 1 overall, but I do know, I think they have number 9 as well, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Or 8 or 9, one of the two.
It's 9.
And so if they take Marvin Harrison at 1, which is what I expect them to do, because I don't think Rome Odunze will fall to 9 or whatever it is. So I think they have to take Harrison 1 overall, and then they'll take a quarterback at 8.
That's the LSU receiver, correct?
Rome Odunze is from Washington.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's what I meant. I don't know. Soon I'll know prospects better and stuff.
Yeah, we'll be doing scouting, aka watching YouTube highlights.
See, if I was Ryan Poles, the GM of the Bears, they absolutely cooked the Panthers in that trade last year, and I think pretty much everyone can agree on that they did.
Yep.
If I was him, I would trade back to the second, third, or maybe like the third pick, we'll say. And then, because the second pick is held, I believe, by the Commanders. And the third, maybe the
Patriots? Is Patriots third?
That sounds right. So if I was him, I would trade to either the second or third pick. You could get a bunch of stuff because your team, if you're willing to go with Justin Fields as your quarterback, you could get a lot for that number 1 pick for Caleb Williams or Drake May or whatever. And you can still get Marvin Harrison Jr. probably at 3, maybe. You still might be able to.
Well, because Washington, they have their receivers, right? And New England has many more problems other than, receivers. They need a quarterback, that's for sure. Because their 2 quarterbacks this year were a hot pile of garbage. At 4 is Arizona. They have their quarterback. At 5 is the Chargers. They have their quarterback. At 6 is the Giants, and I don't know if they'll draft a quarterback at 6, just because I think they like Daniel Jones quite a bit. 7 is Tennessee. They just drafted Will Levis, and I think they like him. So I don't know if there's going to be a lot of quarterbacks picked within the top 10, because after Tennessee, it goes Atlanta, Chicago, Jets, which I think all 3 are going to take a quarterback at that point. And then the Vikings are right after, and will probably take a quarterback then. But I wouldn't be surprised if less than 2 quarterbacks came out of the top 10 this year.
I think that the Bears could trade the third pick with the Patriots, and they could do a swap there, because the Commanders probably aren't going to go Marvin Harrison Jr. I'd think they'd go quarterback because they have no one right now. And then you just have to be ahead of the number.
Oh, goodbye, Big Lou.
Big Lou just left. You just have to be ahead of the Cardinals, because the Cardinals aren't going to take a quarterback. So as long as you pick in the top 3, you'll probably get him. So
I don't even think it's a question if they'll get him or not. I think Marvin Harrison is a Bear.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
So as long as they don't get out of the top 3, they'll probably have it, and they can get significant capital. And Big Lou just sent a chat in the group chat.
What did he say?
He said his Wi-Fi cut out.
Nice.
So we'll see. If Big Lou
says what is happening.
We'll see if Big Lou comes back here. So until Big Lou comes back, I guess we can just go through what's come off the board, and then he can do his predictions when he gets back in.
Okay.
So we have a lot of stuff that came off here.
Yeah.
I'll run through mine quick. I said Vikings wouldn't make the playoffs. I said Kenny wouldn't have a kick return touchdown this season. Looking back, that looks like a check down, but I made that before the season after he had like 2 last season. So looked like it was actually kind of a decent prediction. I said JJ would have at least 500 yards the rest of the season between weeks 14 and 18, and he had 503. So I just squeaked it.
Ridiculous. One catch. One catch.
I thought there was no chance until he started popping off in Detroit this week. Then I was like, yo, I actually could. That could be right. I was ready to mark that red. Then it happened. I said Lions, Vikings, Packers, Bears. Vikings and Packers are flipped. We'd have a week of regular season game picks with 1 wrong, but never 0. That was a dumb prediction. No one even really got close, honestly. We never had less than 3, I think.
Yeah. And I think the one where I got 3, I was just like, give me the favorites.
Yeah. I said JJ would score exactly 3 touchdowns in the last 2, and he only had 1. And if you want to go through your own, you can. I put some notes next to some of the numerical ones too.
Yeah, sure. So I said that the Vikings will have less than 4 more games this year. Starting week 9, they didn't win 4 games. So
I can't believe you got that right. I actually can't believe you got that right, because they won their first 2 after you made that prediction.
I know, and then they didn't win. They won 1 more. I said Ty Chandler would not have another 100-yard game. I said that the week after his 100-yard game, and I don't even think he got close.
No, not really.
I said Jefferson would have exactly 2 more touchdowns the remainder of the season, week 16 through 18. Hit on that one. I said Byron Murphy would lead the Vikings in interceptions. I said that pre-season starting, and I think he only led it by 1. And I think he had
3, and there were a couple guys with 2, and then
I know Bynum had 2, but he had both in the same game. I was really expecting him to have a lot more than 2 since he had those 2 against the Niners. But
Harrison Smith had 0 this year, which is just
crazy. I think he only had maybe 1 sack.
Yeah, I think he had 0 this year. That's the first time I think he's ever had no interceptions in a season in his career. So that was
Yeah.
crazy.
So this is probably going to be a reflecting offseason for him.
Mhm.
And then my final one was that Jordan Addison would have 900 or more yards from scrimmage in the regular season this year. This was also a preseason one, and he had 911.
Okay, you're so lucky he had that long touchdown catch in Detroit because I want to have that would have been wrong if not for that single play.
And you know what? If Justin Jefferson had one less catch or target at all, you also wouldn't have gotten yours. So you can switch.
It's fair.
Another preseason one that I had was that Alex Madison would have 1,800 plus yards from scrimmage this year. He didn't even get half of that. So, that was maybe one of the biggest clown moments of my career. Yeah, these next ones are pretty bad. But Justin Jefferson would have 3 or more rushing touchdowns this year. I don't think he had any.
He didn't.
Even though he had 2 last year. I said Jalen Naylor would have 4 receiving touchdowns this season. He had 0. I said Myles Gaskin would have 5+ rushing touchdowns this season. He also had 0. And then I said the Vikings would lose in the first round of the playoffs. They did not make the playoffs. So those were some rough predictions. I'm not gonna lie.
You had by far the best week out of anyone, though. I mean,
I
you got
did.
half yours right.
But
Everyone
I think
else
everything just went down the toilet all week long for everyone.
Speaking of Big Lou, that is a lot of red. This guy. He said the Vikings would have at least one trick play the rest of the season. They attempted a flea flicker this week, so that was what did it.
That, and they also attempted a Jefferson pass, but he got sacked.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Because Johnny Munt is a terrible pass blocker, but
yeah,
whatever.
He said Stroud would throw 5 or less total interceptions this season. I think he had 3 at the time, or maybe 2, and he ended with 5. He said no receiver would have more than 1,850. Tyreek Hill had 1,799.
Yeah, that was a close one.
He said Viking quarterbacks would have a 2-to-1 or better touchdown to interception ratio the rest of the season. So week 17 and 18, and it was 3-3. The Vikings would play the Lions. They didn't make the playoffs. 3 Vikings players would have 1,000 or more receiving yards. That Jordan Addison had 911 we just said. TJ Hawk had I think like 980, and then Justin Jefferson just eclipsed 1,000. So he was actually close.
Give us one more game, and I bet that hits.
Yeah. If TJ would have stayed healthy, that would have happened, and one more game, and Jordan Addison probably would have done it. So
that, and I think who was it that said TJ would have 1,000-yard season, and we were
that
like,
was
such a check down.
That was I think Big Lou that said that.
Yeah, and then he got hurt right before he hit it.
He was like one catch away from doing it. So that
sucks.
Kind of funny, but also not because he got hurt at the same time.
Right.
He also said the Vikings would have a top 5 scoring offense. They finished 22nd, so not good. He said 3 NFC North teams would be in the playoffs. We got 2. Daniil would tie or break the sack record. He set a career high, but not an NFL high. At least one of us would have a perfect week in game picks. That was kind of a terrible prediction. Sorry, Big Lou. He said they'd have a -5 or higher turnover ratio. They finished with -12. The Vikings would lose in the NFC Championship. Heck no. Their point differential would be between those numbers, and it was not. And then he said the Bears and Packers would both be under 500, and the Packers finished 9-8, I believe. So that was that. Big Lou's back. Welcome
Big
back.
Lou.
I'm back.
We just clowned on your prediction.
For all your predictions.
Yeah, I know. I was watching.
Oh, you can if you want to unveil your new ones, I guess we can just do that now because we just finished talking about you.
All right. So my first one here is 2 of the 4 starting quarterbacks will not be on the Vikings next year.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Relatively easy. The Vikings will trade their number 11 pick.
Don't do that to me.
What?
Because I know what's gonna happen. I was not gonna say it because I didn't want to manifest it. But Big Lou, come on.
I think it's gonna happen. So
well, that's a no-brainer. But come on, man. I don't want it to happen.
Have you seen my percentage? I need all the predictions I can get.
Fair enough.
Big Lou, I must say, Big Lou, I'm sorry I didn't see the private chat. When I'm on the podcast spreadsheet, I can't see you guys. I can only see the spreadsheet.
Okay.
So I couldn't see that you were in there. So I would occasionally look back and forth, but when I was reading, it was like,
Well, I
So
figured
didn't
Sam
see-
would see it and say something.
Well,
but-
I was zoomed in. I've been zoomed in the whole time.
Oh,
No.
so he
Because
was
otherwise
saying
there's too much
hi and hello
white.
for 2 minutes, and I didn't see it.
All right. My last one is there will be 5 or more turnovers in the Kansas City Miami game.
Nice.
I did look up, and statistically, there's an average of 5.6 turnovers per game when the temperature is below, I believe, 10 degrees. So
I think the temperature is supposed to be like right at 0. I'm pretty sure.
yeah, I think it's like 5 at the start of the game time with a -5-degree wind chill or something, or -10-degree wind chill. So
Got it. So Matt already did his, but we'll read through what came off. He said Bills would win the AFC East. Arthur Smith would be fired. He didn't even make it to Black Monday. He got fired still Sunday night, pretty much. Was when he broke. Didn't even make it to the next day. He said Cook would sign with the Cowboys. He signed with the Ravens. Bless you, Big Lou.
Bless you,
Thank
Big
you.
Lou.
thank you.
See, I can't even see you guys when I'm on the spreadsheet, but I could tell it was Big Lou just from the sneeze sound. I knew it was Matt said Vikings would have a top 10 yardage defense. They were 16th. He said KJ would have at least 1,000 yards. He only put up 540. And Greg Joseph would be replaced, and he wasn't. Sam O said Vikings would give up at least 30, and they gave up 30. Lewis Seen would record his second career tackle, and he didn't because he's a bust. James Charles, I didn't even look it up. So if anyone wants to contradict me, be my guest.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
No.
He said Dobbs would record a reception. He did not. And the Vikings would make the playoffs, and they did not. So here is our standings. Sam Z there is currently in first place.
I reign supreme.
I think you're the only one that went up in percentage. Actually, I might have too. But it might have been only you. I don't know. He's in first. I'm in second. Matt is in third. Sam O is in fourth, followed by Big Lou, who, like we just said, had a terrible week. With that said, here is our game picks.
Hey. So I just
here it is.
Googled up James Charles' favorite NFL team, and the top thing is a TikTok clip from James Charles saying, "Go Tom Brady."
So his favorite NFL team is the Bucks.
Well, you can be a fan of a player and not a team.
Yeah.
Well, okay, but if you're a fan of a player, you want that team to win.
Okay, that's actually a good point.
Like if
But
I
it
was a
could be-
Justin Jefferson fan, I wouldn't be like, yeah, but screw the Vikings.
Okay, that's fair. But I mean, here's the thing. I'll try to think of an example here on the Packers. That was or any other team in this division, like the Bears. Who's a player on that team that I'd say I like, but I don't like the team?
DJ Moore.
Khalil Mack.
Khalil
Yeah.
Mack plays for the Chargers, bud.
I thought
Khalil
didn't
Mack-
he used to play for the Bears though?
He did, yeah.
Well, yeah, a century ago.
Well, but still, he's a good player on the Bears, but on a terrible team. So
Well, I think my comparison would be Randall Cobb when he played with the Packers. Loved Randall Cobb. But I don't think James Charles is enough into football to understand that, I like this team, but I really like this play. Like, I'm a big Falcons fan, right? But I'm also a huge Tom Brady fan. I don't think that's ever been said in a sentence before.
no, I think
See,
we should just move on and leave it red.
Okay, last thing, I did come to a realization. I used to really like Zadarius Smith when he was on the Packers. I did have a lot of respect for him because he was a really good player. So he is an example. I liked at the time Zadarius Smith, but I didn't like the Packers. So you can like a player without liking the team they're on. I could definitely think of Eagles players too that fall into that same category.
yeah.
But whatever. Here's our picks last week. Sam Z didn't even put any in, so his numbers did change. It was actually a pretty good week for pretty much everyone. We fared well. We look up here. In first place is still Sam Z. Followed
Did you
by,
put the new numbers in, Joel?
for this,
Yeah.
for week 18, yes.
Okay.
Sam
I'm
was
still
16
winning by that much.
I did not mark you red for anything. So your number's been this for the past 2 weeks now. I haven't changed.
You didn't change his percentage, but you okay.
No.
Because
So-
you didn't give him 0 out of 6, 0 out of what, 17 or 16 for last week.
No, I did not. I just
Oh, okay. That's where I misunderstood it because
I
I
did not
thought
touch
that
it.
you guys
did
were
not-
saying like you just get 0 out of 16 instead of you just get 0 out of 0.
I think we joked about that, but the actual agreement was just that it just didn't count. Nothing did.
Okay.
So I haven't touched your number since like week 16 now. So it's been that same one. So it was not. I did not put 0 for 16 in. So
Let's go.
that's why you're still ahead by that much of a margin, even though they decided to put an asterisk. Actually, it might have been me. I don't even know anymore. So you're in the lead, followed by me, followed by Big Lou, and then Matt and Sam O both under 60%. So looks like Sam Z's probably going to win, but we still have 13 games that could change it.
You
So
never know. It can always change.
It's possible. So that said, we'll just go through here. First game, we got the Browns and Texans. 2 going Cleveland. Nope, 3 going Cleveland, 2 going Houston. This is actually a really good game. The Deshaun Watson Bowl. Either team could win.
Give me CJ Stroud.
Yep, I think CJ Stroud's gonna have a little bit of a playoff run, not much, but his rookie
Well,
year-
if they win this game, they play the Ravens. So
oh yeah, they're gonna get pooped on then.
I could see this game going either way. So is the Joe Flacco magic going to keep going or no? We'll just have to see here.
yeah, but we don't want a Joe Flacco revenge game against the Ravens because I want the Ravens to win the Super Bowl. So
That would be
no, thank you.
so entertaining to watch Joe
Joe Flacco
against the
revenge
Ravens in
game.
playoffs.
It'd be past his bedtime. You'd fall asleep again.
Yeah. Dolphins and Chiefs Saturday night. We are 3 going KC. Sam Z and Matt are going with the Dolphins. I could have gone either way with this game.
This is another one that's going to be a really tough one to decide. However, with it being so cold, I think it's going to be a lot of pound the rock. I don't think it's going to be a Mahomes versus Tua matchup. I think it's going to be a Raheem Mostert and Dolphins O-line versus Isaiah Pacheco and Chiefs offensive line. And in that matchup, I'm definitely taking the Dolphins.
That's fair. Either way, it doesn't even, to me, obviously it matters who has a better run game, but the Chiefs are just simply used to the cold and the Dolphins aren't.
That's very true.
Yeah. So that's kind of that. Whatever. Steelers and Bills, this will probably be a blowout. Bills should definitely be able to sweep them.
But you know what? I almost put Pittsburgh because I have a feeling they're going to surprise us.
Even with Mason Rudolph.
I have a feeling they're going to surprise us. I'm not counting on it, but I have a small feeling that they'll surprise us.
Mm-hmm. So we'll see. Packers and Cowboys, the Mike McCarthy revenge game. Everyone's going Cowboys. I thought about Packers. Honestly, I did a little bit, but Cowboys are overall just the better team.
I think it'd be pretty hard to choke in the first round to the Packers.
Mike McCarthy, you never know.
Yeah, it would
Mike
be.
McCarthy in the playoffs here, even though he did win a Super Bowl. Rams and Lions. This is I can't speak anymore about how good this game is. It's just really good. 3-1
That's
Detroit.
Stafford revenge game. Every
going
single
Rams.
game is a revenge game, except for the Steelers and Bills.
I really want Stafford and the Rams to win this game. Go into Detroit and silence the home crowd. That would be so good.
Oh my gosh, that would be sweet.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
Puka Nakua. I actually kind of like him, especially because he's on my fantasy team.
Well, that would explain it.
The more I talk about it, the more I'm switching. I'm going Rams, actually.
Really?
Detroit's going to be all hyped up, but I feel like honestly the Rams are going to be more hyped up. They're going to say, this is your former team, Matt Stafford. You can go in there, and they haven't seen a home playoff game in 30 years now, and you can go in there and silence all of their mouths. And I think that they will do it.
Here's the thing, though. If Jared Goff starts struggling, it won't matter because they have Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, and they're just going to pound the rock against the Rams. The thing for me is like the Rams' run defense is not very good. So I think that they could have a Michigan versus Washington kind of game against them.
Mm-hmm. So close it out Monday night, Eagles and Bucks. We've got everyone going Bucks but me. And I'm assuming is AJ Brown playing anyone? No. I couldn't tell you. And
My main thing is that the Eagles have struggled in their last 7 games.
they've been bad.
1-6 is atrocious. And so I think that I don't think they're going to be able to win this one. The Bucks have ended on a high note. They went 9-8 and won the division. So I think this is going to be a tough one for Philly. Is it at Philly, I think, right?
No, it's in Tampa.
Oh, it's in Tampa?
Yeah.
Oh, well, then Tampa's definitely got it in the bag.
I mean, the Bucks haven't been that impressive of a team, though. Overall, Baker has been pretty impressive, I will say.
Baker has been cooking. I will say that. And he's got the 2 weapons of Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. So
Sirianni is going to get up in front of that Eagles team and say, guys, we need to get our stuff together and win this game. So
and then they'll proceed to lose it.
Yes.
Yeah. So if this feels like a game where it's like, oh, the Bucks are up by 4, and now the Eagles have the ball with 3 minutes left. Oh, Jalen Hurts just threw an interception. The Bucks are going to win.
And he's picked off by Antoine Winfield Jr.
So that does it for that. Those were our game picks. And yeah, I don't think
Wait a minute.
really have anything
Who's
else.
everyone got winning the Super Bowl?
I went Niners over the Bills in like the thing you just sent out earlier. That was what
Niners Bills?
I went with Niners over the Bills. The Bills are turning everything on at the right time.
You think the Bills are going to make it to the Super Bowl?
No, not a chance.
They have a chance.
Big Lou, who do you got?
I got Ravens over Niners.
I also have Ravens over Niners.
Ravens and Niners will not be in the Super Bowl against each other. No way the number one.
It's been deemed by the NFL based on their color schemes.
That's a load of bogus.
It's not even that for me, Big Lou. It's just that Lamar Jackson is having another MVP season. The Ravens are just really turning things on offensively, and that defense, like it has been in previous years, is stacked. I don't think that there's any team that is going to be able to beat that Ravens defense consistently. And so they came into, I think they went to Santa Clara and just kicked the crap out of the Niners. What was that at Niners?
Which one are we talking about?
Ravens-Niners game, was that at Niners?
Oh, this year?
Yeah.
I
don't remember what it was, but Brock Purdy threw 4 interceptions. That's pretty bad.
Well, yeah, the Niners can't win, though, because they lost to Kirk Cousins. So
exactly. So they're going to go to the Super Bowl and lose it.
It was in San Francisco, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. So the Ravens, in my opinion, are by far the best team in the NFL this year.
Both number 1 seeds, very rare they make the Super Bowl.
That's true.
In any sport, though, there's always an upset.
Very, very true.
There's always an upset.
However, those 2 teams are such juggernauts. I don't think that it's possible for them to not be in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. All right,
unless
guys,
one of them hoax.
I gotta head out here. I got some stuff to do.
Of course.
Great
yeah.
Yes.
Sounds good.
See y'all later.
Peace out, Big Lou.
I don't think we really even have anything else anymore. Podcast, that was probably the longest one. That might be the longest one we've ever done since our debut one.
Yeah. This one has been a long one. We've had a lot to talk about.
It was fun though. A lot of interesting things. And they were all, relevant for the most part too. So
yes, exactly.
But I think that pretty much does it. We've seen 2 people leave mid-episode now. So I think that's a sign that
if you count Big Lou twice, that would be 3.
Yeah, you're right. Big Lou had the internet gremlins on him. So I think that pretty much does it for this one. We will see you guys again next Wednesday with maybe more Vikings news, maybe more all NFL news, and some more game picks and predictions. We will see you guys next week on Wednesday. Oh, there we go. All right, we'll see you guys next Wednesday. Have a good night. Peace out. And as always, SKOL Vikings.